everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. And I want to cut a quick promo for a book I just got in the mail. I actually got it in the mail from Borderlands Press. It's a joint publication between Gauntlet Press and Borderlands Press. And I bought this book because it's written by one of my very favorite authors, walking God's green earth, and that is F. Paul Wilson. The book is Double Dose, which is a sequel to the duology called Double Threat. And here is Double Threat. I showed you this book already. I've done a review on this book already, but it is a duology. So Double Threat is the first half of the story. This is not a complete story. And I'd heard people say, I heard a couple people say they loved F. Paul Wilson, but they weren't a fan of this book. One of them, I ended up getting a few more questions in, only to find out that he didn't like the way it ended. He said it felt like it didn't, the story wasn't finished. And that's when I told him, hey, it's the first half of a two book series. It's a duology for sure. And then I went back and I looked at the trade edition of the book, and it says nothing in there in the least in any way telling you that this is part one of a two-part story. It occurred to me that I didn't actually talk about Double Threat in this video. I have talked about it in the past, but for a quick rundown, Double Threat starts the story of a young lady named Daly, and it's actually sort of a reimagining of F. Paul Wilson's first novel, The Healer, where the main character, in this case, it's Daly, a lady in more modern time. Healer is a futuristic sci-fi where they travel from planet to planet. Well, in this case, Daly is pretty much modern time, and she ends up having another being join with her. She has this stuff fall on her head, this thing fall on her head, and she starts noticing changes. She has a voice inside her head that tells her things, and she can't get it to stop, and ends up realizing I have another being inside of me. And this other being decides, essentially, I'll let you run the show. I'll make sure it can fix things inside of her. Things like cancer, it can undo all these things inside of her. So essentially she'll live forever in theory. And so they sort of become a partnership. She's not so happy about it, but she starts figuring out there's nothing she can do about it. It does have its bonuses. And she was a natural born grifter, raised to grift, to scam, to con. And now she's got an actual skill because she can heal people. Her duod, her passenger, if you will, can help her, can heal others. So she has this real skill which she can actually use to make money. And she moves into this town that's, in a nutshell, it's run by a cult leader. And things kind of go amok. But Double Threat it leaves you hanging. It solves essentially half the story. And so Double Dose is where you go in and finish up the story. And I need to read that to get the true skinny on how it turns out. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, Double Dose Part 2 is in, and I loved Double Threat. I thought it was phenomenal. It was F. Paul Wilson doing F. Paul Wilson stuff. A very great storyteller, a very efficient storyteller. And I couldn't wait to get to this one. And the friendly neighborhood mail lady has hooked a brother up unexpectedly. I got no announcement, no email, nothing like that saying it was coming. And boom, here it is. Now, I know that this is one of two books that I've got pre-ordered from Gauntlet or Borderlands Press. The other one is a set of Repairman Jack stories, short story collection from F. Paul Wilson as well. And I had just read in a newsletter recently that this one was, I think it said at the printer or something, and that wasn't even listed. So I do know which one this is out of two, just based on that information. But Borderlands Press shipped the book. The box is slightly bigger than the book. And if the box took a beating with the post office, there's a pretty good chance that my book would be protected. But it's just not as I like the bigger box. I like the extra cushion, stuff like that in there. So we have a little note attached to my bubble wrapped book. And the note says, thank you for purchasing some of the titles under the joint imprint of Gauntlet Press and Borderlands Press. And then it asked me to sign up for the newsletter and such as that, which I have. And just full disclosure here, anymore, I don't necessarily love the way that Gauntlet Press or Borderlands Press makes their books. The way they're bound, they are not sewn bindings. These are signed limited editions, but they're not sewn bindings. They are glued bindings. So there are some, for me, I go in knowing that. Also, the price of the books. The price of these books are equal to other publishers' books that are far higher in quality than these books. But still, at the end of the day, it is a signed limited edition book. And I buy the ones from authors that I love or that I collect. And F. Paul Wilson is the very first, for me, the very first author that I started collecting limited edition books of. And so first off, Double Dose. I got a sticky note on the front, says number 58. Let's see, because I can't remember, part 1 of this book. It is number, number 58. So they did match my number, which is nice, especially for a duology. It is nice that I bought them both from them. I got matching numbers for it. But this book is wrapped in shrink wrap. And here's one thing I don't do. I don't anymore. I no longer leave my books in the shrink wrap. There was a time where occasionally I'd leave a book in there for years. I wasn't going to read the limited edition version. I had read a trade edition or a library book or something like that of the story. So I didn't need to open up my limited edition book to read it. And I figured, shoot, I'll just leave it in the plastic. That'll help protect it over time, sitting on the shelves, whatever. And then I started hearing people say on the internet, because people say stuff on the internet, and everybody on the internet knows everything. I started hearing them say it's bad to do it. You start getting damage. You may start getting foxing, molding, and stuff like that. And I bought a book online. It was about 30 years old. It was wrapped in shrink wrap, and sure enough, the page ends were foxed. So spots on the page block edges. So at that point, I went and opened up every one that I had still had, and I found one shrink wrapped from the publisher that was missing the signature page. A signed limited edition book missing the signature page. Wow, that ain't no good. And luckily in that case, it hadn't sold out. The publisher still had some. So they sent me a replacement copy, and it worked out all right. But now I open them up. I make sure that they are what they're supposed to be. And this right here, Double Dose, so I'll show you. I'll get this book off the shelf one more again. Double Threat is part 1 of the series. Double Dose is the finale, and there's what they look like together. Now, I mentioned just a minute ago how I didn't love the artwork from Gauntlet Press, and I was specifically thinking of some other books published for some other authors that I love. I can't say that about either one of these books. In my opinion, these dust jackets for these books right here, Double Threat and Double Dose, the dust jacket artwork, I like it. I really do. So I think maybe they're taking care of F. Paul Wilson, which I hope they are. F. Paul Wilson, if you're listening, I'm sure you're not. All the best, man. But F. Paul Wilson's Double Dose, I really like the artwork on the dust jacket here. Give credit where it is due. And there's the spine. That's what it's going to look like on my shelf. And the back of the dust jacket is blank, nothing on it. Now, when I take this dust jacket off, you got the boards are covered with sort of like an imitation leather. So not bad. I'm not going to complain there at all. Hot foil stamped spine. At this point, no problems. Good stuff. But then when I look here, this is the part that bothered me. They didn't used to do this. Gauntlet, Borderlands Press used to have Smith sewn bindings. Now it's just glued, where the page block is glued directly to whatever. It's glued down. It's not sewn in. And so opening this thing up all the way is going to cause issues over time. For me, it's going to sit on the shelf because I've got trade editions that I will read. But you want to buy a book and you want to pay 60 or 80 bucks for a book, knowing that it's made in the best possible way and that it's going to last, checking my watch, that it's going to last forever. And I don't know if I have that kind of confidence with this book. So the meat of the matter when it comes to Borderlands Press and Gauntlet is what you've just seen is about what you get. We have our signature page in here, which is a sort of a rendition of the dust jacket artwork. It's signed by F. Paul Wilson. It is numbered 58 of 500 copies. And then I'll show you what else. Here's the paper, the text, the font, the margins. The paper, it's, I don't know what kind of paper it is, but there's nothing special, good or bad about it. And then that's it. You got plain white end papers. You got no interior illustrations. So what you end up with is a book that's about trade edition quality with a signature page tipped in to the glued binding, and it is sequentially numbered. And this book costs more, about the same, than what you would pay for a signed limited edition book from SST Publications with a cloth covered boards, Smith sewn binding, 6 or more interior illustrations by some of the top illustrators out there. But this is a Borderland Press Gauntlet book, and that's what you get. So be warned, that's what you get when you buy one of these books. Now, I still buy the books that they publish for authors that I collect. Example is F. Paul Wilson. Another recent example is Blake Crouch. So I love those authors. I'm still going to get their limited edition books. However, I wish that I would get more for the money. That's what I wish. That being said, I can think of no more lies to tell, so thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it. C'est la vie, baby. Doo-doo.
So you just have to go to the wood room or all the way?